Good morning. This is Tom Trento, the Trento Show on Wednesday, the 19th. Oh, wait a minute. It's not the Trento Show anymore. It was for the past 2 days. Right now, it's the Trento
Gold Show.
Welcome back. How are you?
It's great to be here.
Did you miss us?
You know what? I did. I really miss that, first of all, spending time with everybody here at the United West, and also being able to have the opportunity to share with an audience what is going on in Israel and help educate them. So, and also it helped. Every day I learn here, and then being able to impart that knowledge is really a gift.
You missed so much. It isn't funny, but I know you
I
caught
got to
up on a
catch
lot
up.
of it.
Yes, I did. I watched the video. I watched the videos and the
Okay.
replays.
The replay. Susie Gold is our Torah observant Jewish woman, and it was Shavuot.
It was
So
Shavuot.
give us 30 seconds on what you did, what it was all about, what was the meaning of it.
So there's a lot of meaning behind Shavuos, or Shavuot. It's said both ways. Shavuot means weeks. So we count 7 weeks from the time of Passover till this time. And in those 7 weeks is really symbolic of the time that we left Egypt. So here we were slaves, and then we go into freedom. And then we needed to learn, how do you operate in freedom? Because when you're enslaved, you really don't know what it is to be free. So then we went to Har Sinai, or Mount Sinai, and it was the giving of the Torah. So that's really the main point of Shavuos, but there's a lot of mystical components to it. 7 is very significant, is a spiritual number, 7 weeks, 49 days. And we work on ourselves to improve ourselves with our fellow man. And then receiving the Torah is how to live life. So, and then it's also the harvest. So we're also grateful. If it wasn't for the wind and the rain and everything that occurs that comes from God, we wouldn't have the food we have.
Either.
So there's a lot of symbolism with Shavuos, but I think the main point, and we also read the book of Ruth.
That's
right.
Very interesting. Boaz and Ruth and the whole story. Yeah, cool. Well, it's good to have you back, Susie Gold. We have a phenomenal show today, folks. In a little bit, our special guest, dear friend of ours, Pastor Umar Mulinde. Call your friends, send out the link to this show. This is live right now on Wednesday, the 19th, 10th day of the war in Israel. Pastor Umar Mulinde has an amazing story. Former Muslim, converted to Christianity, attacked because of his conversion to Christianity and his support for Israel. You're going to hear a story that is not often heard of how Israel reached out to somebody in Uganda and helped them a little bit. You'll see, and you'll hear from Pastor Umar Mulinde in a bit. Then later on, about the bottom of the hour, around 4:30 in Israel, 9:30 a.m. here, our own Jerusalem Jane from Jerusalem will have a live report. Then around quarter to 5 in Israel, 4:45 here, Adele Raymer will be reporting from kibbutz Nirim, Nirim, on the border. I've been there. I've met with her. Our teams have been there. She'll probably be in her bomb shelter. She's been very cautious lately, and she does a lot of media. She does a lot of the regular legacy media. So Adele will be with us later. Full show, Umar Mulinde, Jerusalem Jane, and Adele Reamer. So glad to have you back. Makes my job a lot easier.
I'm happy. If I make your job easier.
We want to lay a groundwork. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, was on TV about 2 hours ago, delivering an amazing message that challenging the world democracies to stand with Israel. What democracy, what country would let a country send 4,000 missiles and not
civilians,
not obliterate it? He said, we leave obliteration on the table, but right now we're trying to simply demilitarize and create a deterrent. I'll have some closing remarks about the Prime Minister's message. But it's been an interesting development, Susie Gold, not for us because we've been watching this, but Breitbart News ran a story yesterday. Are you surprised that Black Lives Matter, the Marxist movement, we're going to have a multiple choice. Black Lives Matter, Mark, you can join it. Black Lives Matter, A, came out in support of Israel, or
wrong,
or Black Lives Matter came out in support of Hamas.
Oh, let me think about that one.
You can put that article, it's right there. Just a quick reference to it. Black Lives Matter organization said Monday it stands in solidarity with the Palestinians and is working to end settler colonialism. Their key words about what the United States is. And they go on to basically say it's Israel's fault. You know, the Hamas is freedom fighters fighting to free the that whole narrative. But Black Lives have joined with jihadi Muslims.
They're aligning with terrorists. Imagine that. And in Congress, look at those senators and congressmen and women that are supporting Hamas in America. And we have to remember that when it comes to voting. Remember who it is who's standing on the right side of history and those who are for terrorism.
Well, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think the Muslim community? And the Muslim community is led by the Muslim Brotherhood. The main Muslim Brotherhood entity is CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations. And we know, based upon a federal lawsuit, 2008-2009, that CARE is the public relations arm of Hamas in the United States. So a multiple choice, again, Mark,
Susie, I love these
Monte
questions.
Cristo. CARE came out in support of A, Israel, or B, Hamas.
Let me think of that. Hamas.
Oh my God, I got brilliant people here today. This was a year ago, June 2020. Not only did CARE come out in support of Black Lives Matter, they obviously come out in support of Hamas. They are Hamas, but they came out strongly a year ago in support of Black Lives. They actually came out 4 or 5 years ago in support of Black Lives. But this is a unique unveiling of their support for Black Lives. And then we'll tell you the significance of this. Check this out.
I just want to clarify, Tom. So CARE, who is Hamas, came out in support of themselves?
Yes, they did. But this piece we're going to look at, they came out in support of Black Lives. So we have a coalition from hell, Black Lives Matter, Marxists, CARE, Hamas, joining together against Jews and Christians. Check this out.
In the name of God, the compassionate.
This is the head of CARE, Nihad Awad.
Peace be to you. I will start first by asking Robert McCall to help us unveil the banner, Black Lives Matter. So go ahead, Robert.
This is in their headquarters in Washington, D.C., across the street from the U.S. Capitol. Susie Gold, can you read that headline there?
Yeah, it says, so here it is on the side of the building, Black Lives Matter.
Which, oh, here it's Congress passed the Justice in Policing Act now.
And they go on in this short video to affirm their support for Black Lives Matter. That was a year ago. Then we saw all the rioting. Now Israel's in flames, ring of fire, and we have here in the United States, CARE and Black Lives joining, having protests all over and agitating the Arab street in Israel. Unbelievable. Not surprising for us. We'll leave it there. We'll include the link in the description to this show. But we want to get right to our special guest today, dear friend of ours. It was January 2012. We had a small team in Israel. Mark was there. Claire was with us. The Vaughns, Billy and Karen Vaughn, Henry Patino, several others, 12 of us on it was a very unique mission to study suicide bombers in Israel. And we went to places and saw things you could not even imagine. Police stations showing us the scenes and all of this. Well, while we were there, I get a call from friends in Philadelphia who were involved with Aisha Torah, the Jewish activism educational organization. And they said that Israel has just taken in someone who was injured in Uganda, who went from Uganda to India for treatment, and India couldn't do it. So Israel reached out because they knew this individual was a strong supporter of Israel. And they said, bring him here. we have the capability to treat people who are injured as he was. And our friends in Philly said, see if you can go do an interview with him. He was injured a month earlier, December 24th, 2011. So we grabbed our team, the hospital let us in, 12 of us in the room with our special guest. And I have goosebumps from that moment. We're going to play in the background while we interview our special guest, a video we did that day, which was January 2011. But we have live with us today the individual we interviewed in Sheba Hospital in January 2011. Please, everyone, welcome our dear friend, our brother, Pastor Umar Mulinde. Pastor, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Pastor.
Can you hear him? I can't hear him.
You're
He
muted,
needs
Pastor.
to Unmute.
I'm mute.
You gotta unmute.
I think his computer must be muted. He's
There he goes,
muted
yeah.
on Zoom.
No, so I don't, nope, no
Yeah,
audio.
All right, well,
Can't
You
hear
I-
him. He's not muted on Zoom.
he's not
Yeah,
muted.
yeah,
He's not muted on Zoom.
All right, Mary, you could work with him to get that sorted out. We do not want to miss, and we have time because there's no ending to the show. We can go as
Yeah.
long as
And
we
you
want.
want to stay, you want to hear his story.
Yeah.
He's a remarkable man, a devout Christian, and an incredible inspiration.
The reason he's wearing sunglasses. You want to play a little bit of the lead-in of
Sure.
the video?
Move to your left, Susie.
Me?
Yeah, we'll play this. It'll lay the groundwork until we get his audio sorted out. We'll play this until he gets his audio. Here we go.
I can't get my audio to work. I don't know why the others-
These are pictures of Umar Mulinde before the attack. And he is a very successful pastor in Uganda. These are pictures, but he was also a scholar, an Islamic scholar, a dawah, see dawah. He advanced to the point of memorizing the Quran, doing all of this.
He's a da'i. Yeah.
He's a da'i. His father was a da'i, a scholar in Islam. So he passed it to his son. Another da'i is Siraj Wahaj. All these terrorists are Islamic scholars. Well, our special guest, Umar Mulinde, was there's James Baldwin, another
Dawi.
Dawi, another Islamic scholar. So when we talk, there's Tom
that?
Trento.
Who
I'm
is
not a
that
da'i.
guy?
Great
I'm
guy,
not a
a
da'i.
famous guy.
I'm not a da'i. But when we talk about the doctrine of Islam, and people yell at us and call us Muslim haters, we're telling people what these people have written about Islam.
Is that your younger brother, Tom, on the screen?
I know it's my younger brother. That's almost 10 years ago. 9 years ago. God,
You haven't changed.
no,
a bit.
not too much. So you can see the transformation of a very handsome young man in his 30s. And Mary, tell us when his audio is back, and I will stop narrating the
Yeah, I'm
video.
trying to reach out to him.
You may have to call him. You have his number, right?
That's the hard part. I got hacked and all my contacts went away, so I'm trying to reach him right now.
All right, I'll send you. Mark, you can narrate while I send. Well, you know what? Jerusalem Jane is here. Let's hold this. Can you get us to Jerusalem Jane? This is a live show, folks. We have one person somewhere in an unrevealed
He
location.
has to hide out because if they find him, they mean business.
They
Because,
mean
and they
business.
said when they poured hot oil over him because of his conversion, they said
Acid.
acid.
Yeah.
It was acid. I'm sorry. They said Allahu Akbar 3 times, and then they threw acid in Mulinde's his face, his chest, and his arm. So, I mean, they mean business. They kill you because, you know, a conversion is the worst thing one of the worst things. They either chop off hands if you steal, and, you know, it's a brutal way to live. Very
We have
oppressive.
Jane on.
Why don't you bring Jane on? I'll get Mary this
She
stuff.
is on, and if Pastor Umar Mulinde could call me, I think he's probably got my phone number.
I'm sending it to you. Here we go. There you go. You have that. Why don't you bring Jane on, and we'll get an update from Jane.
He's on.
Can you hear me?
Susie
There we
Gold,
go.
all yours.
Hey, good. Hello there, Jerusalem Jane. It's so nice to talk to you.
It's nice to meet you. Such a beautiful lady. Wow.
Oh, well, thank you. You're a beautiful lady too. Now, where are you speaking from now? Can you disclose where you are?
I am sitting in my beautiful apartment in Jerusalem, the center of the world.
Yeah,
Really
it is. Can you give us an update of what is going on right now in Jerusalem? What's going on in the country with regard to, so many 4,000 missiles that were launched from Gaza into Israel? Where are we at today?
Well, actually, right now the red alert is going off, which means rockets are coming again. Within the last hour, a massive barrage of rockets has been pounding in, while the rest of the world are screaming, ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. They want Israel to cease, and Hamas is going to continue to fire. That's the way it has been for years. So Benjamin Netanyahu was saying to diplomats and foreign journalists today, there's no time clock. We are going to continue until we say we are done. It's
Right.
not a terror regime that's going to rule a sovereign state like Israel to depend or to determine when we are going to stop firing. And it is certainly not the United Nations or the European Union or America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I was reading the other day about how Gazans and Hamas and the terrorists can decide when a war starts, but they don't have the right to decide when it stops. So as you say, and as you so eloquently said, that that Israel will decide to stop when it's the right timing for Israel, for when there's security. So what are we looking for? What's the end game here for Israel then, with regard to when is it? When will they stop?
That's what everybody's talking about. How do you win a war? When do you know that you have won a war? And I have heard, because I'm really paying attention to the news here, the news you can trust. And they are having, former IDF people in, and they are saying this is about the Jewish people have a sense of certainty, of security. This is, because Hamas are going to continue to have rockets. So it's a mix of the IDF saying, now we have squashed the bug. We have squashed them so much. And they have set the IDF, we have squashed them. They have been set back many years. And then it's for the Jewish people to feel safe, that they feel now we have accomplished something so we can actually start living again. Imagine for a second that it was your family, that
Right.
years after year after year, these people are traumatized. The last 10 days, they haven't left their bomb shelter. They have a full-time living in a bomb shelter. And it's not just now, it's because it's so massive that the mainstream media is covering it. But these people are running for their life every other month because Hamas is firing all of these rockets. And there comes a time where...
Let me introduce one element of this. Tom Trento here, 9:20 in the morning on the East Coast, 4:20 where Jerusalem Jane is. Susie Gold, my co-host, back after a couple of days relaxing and honoring God through Shavuot, right? Shavuot. We have Jerusalem Jane here, ladies and gentlemen, and we kind of assume people know Jerusalem Jane. Well, over the past 10 days of this war, Jerusalem Jane was very well known worldwide and throughout Israel, has become even better, more amazingly well known. I want you to cite some of the statistics in a second as to what's occurred. But 7 or 8 years ago, this young lady from Denmark, Christian woman, felt a calling by God to up and leave. You talk about Ruth and Boaz and all that. To up and leave and move thousands of miles to Israel and to live in Jerusalem, and just simply not to be a missionary converting Jews and doing all the, not that stuff, but to live there and just support Jewish people pray for Jewish people, love Jewish people, and be
Tom,
there
I
for
think
them.
we've got Pastor back.
All right, we'll get to him in a second. So she did that. And through the years, as she took a stand for Israel and Jewish people, the Black Lives Matter, Muslims, Hamasis, jihadis start going after her. And she's a very threatened person. But also your reporting, she does amazing reporting from Jerusalem, from the old city. She goes where the bombs are flying. What happened this week with people finding you on social media, Jane?
Well, thank you for asking. Well, I have been doing this for years, as you said, simply deciding I want to report every time there's a horrific terror attack. I want to report when there are rockets, because you don't hear it in mainstream media. So when all of this started, of course, I started speaking even more. I started going more live. And within the last week, I reached 1.3 million people in 1 week.
That's a great reach.
On a Facebook page. It's absolutely amazing. 8,000 new followers, I think it was in 5 days. And these are people, especially Americans, and I can see the comments, and they're saying, goodness gracious, we didn't know. They didn't know about Hamas. They don't know about all of these attacks. They believe this propaganda that Israel is at war with these innocent civilian Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, which couldn't be further from the truth. So I'm just really trying to share and educate. So it's just kind of exploded. And of course, on top of that, we have all the hate, and that part comes with it. But I'm just one small voice who is trying to say, listen, guys, who has the most power in the world? The media. It's not your president, it's the media.
Right.
Whatever they say makes people's opinion. And when you see on all big cities around the world, they are having pro-Palestinian rallies right now, and they are driving around in London saying, murder the Jews and we're going to rape your daughters, like they did in London. It's happening all over. I'm trying to educate people and say, listen, this is not the truth, and we have to change the narrative. And just to get people engaged and say, start making some pro-Israel rallies around the world. Because I was in the post office today, and this lady and I was talking, she knows me, and she says, what are you doing? And I said, I'm trying to educate the world. And she said to me, well, they just hate us. They just hate us. And my heart just dropped to the floor. And I know it's true, but when you hear this beautiful Jewish woman, mother of 3 or 4 children, you know, but it doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter what we say. They just hate us and they just murder us. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
That's what it comes down to, though, that, you know, they're talking about, oh, this is about land and just give them more land. And we see what they did with their land in Gaza. Here you have all the militants and the terrorists that moved into Gaza. So,
Exactly.
you know, this is not about land. And just as you said, this is Jewish and Christian hatred. And we'll hear from Pastor Umar Mulinde what happened to him when he converted to Christianity. So anything that's opposing to their belief system is we have to die. We're the infidel. And that's what this comes down to. And I'm so, you are doing such a huge mitzvah by sharing this information to others. And it was Hitler who said, give me your media and give me your youth and I'll have the world. And as we know, he was in close alliance with the leadership of Islam during that time. And, you know, their favorite book is Mein Kampf. So, you know, we have a repeat of history, and thank God for people like you that are sharing the correct news. And I think maybe at this point, people, many, not all, of
not
course,
all, some maybe.
But some do realize that we're not getting the correct information from the media, from the newspapers. And, you know, they say, oh, but I listen to CNN, I listen to MSNBC, and I listen to NBC and ABC. I don't even know, I don't watch them anymore, but I do.
It's just gonna get worse now, because Israel have had the crossing into Gaza has been closed for foreign media. There has not been any foreign media inside Gaza. Israel is opening that now. So you're going to see, it's going to get even worse, because now the international media is going to be allowed into Gaza. Not today. They closed it today because they started firing rockets. But with it in the next few days, you're going to see NBC, CNN, everybody's going to be in Gaza. And then they're going to.
That's right. Well,
all right, let's get
just one extra thought is that your Associated Press had their operate at the
right.
Gaza terrorist facility.
We didn't know
Yeah.
Hamas was here.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
We just had lunch together.
That guy Hamas with the Kalashnikov, the AK-47, is that Hamas?
Is that what that was?
It's
all about?
ridiculous.
We thought he was a
It's
security
ridiculous.
guard.
Yeah.
So anyway, you talk about hatred, Jerusalem, Jane, and we have our special guest who experienced epic hatred that resonates and reverberates every minute of his life because of that moment of hatred on December 24th, 2011. Pastor Umar Mulinde, I think you found your voice so that you can speak. It's a voice we need. Welcome to the show, sir.
Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm very happy to be with you again, and I appreciate you all. Thank you for this wonderful broadcast. I am Pastor Umar Mulinde, a former Muslim. I studied as a sheikh, and my grandfather was an imam, and my father as well. And I qualified as a Muslim preacher, a Muslim propagator who is a da'i. So I know Islamic theology, but I currently know Christian theology. So I combine the two. And I'm very happy to be here. And the topic of concern of today is very important to me because during my time as a Muslim, I had hated Israel, not because I knew all the details about Israel or all about the land and the politics surrounding Israel, but because the Quran teaches in Surah Al-Ma'idah, which is the 5th chapter of the Quran, and verse 51, it tells Muslims not to be friends with Jews and Christians. So what is happening in the Middle East, I remember, Tom, when we met in Jerusalem, my first talk to you was about this matter. I said, unfortunately, the Western world has been deceived to think that this is a political matter. This is more of a religious matter than politics. And the idea is that there is an intention, which is clearly reported in chapter 2 of the Quran, verse 193, that the Muslims extremists are targeting to conquer the whole world. The idea is the conquest of Islam. And in the Middle East, it's only Israel that is relatively non-Muslim country, and it's the place where Christianity was founded, and it's the place where the Jews are founded, whom they regard as the arch enemies of Islam. So what we see right now, the fight going on right now, is more orchestrated by religion than politics. So that's why I encourage our brothers and our sisters who are listening to this program to send these messages to many people and support these programs, because many people's eyes need to be opened and many need to understand that this is not a war of politics. This is more of a war of ideology and a war of religion, a war of religion. There is a conquest. The word in Islam is فَقَتِلُهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ دِينَ اللَّهِ, that they will fight until when there is no any other but only the religion of Allah. That's why during my meeting with you, Tom, when I was on my sick bed in Jerusalem, you asked me a question about what I have to tell the Western world. And I said that it's unfortunately that the Western world think that when they give Jerusalem to the Muslims, the war will stop. That is unfortunate. It's not true. I said, when you give them Jerusalem, they will demand Tel Aviv. When you give them Tel Aviv, they will demand Washington. You give them Washington, they take New York and other cities, they will demand London, and then they will take other cities around the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, my concern is that I'm a victim of this religious persecution. As you can see my face, I was not born this way, but I was burnt with acid because I converted from Islam to Christianity, and because of my preaching that has been causing many Muslims to come to Christ, and because of my love to Israel. Because when I was a Muslim, I hated Israel, but when I became a Christian, I began to love Israel and to promote the love of Israel among my people and to take teams to Israel. So we have to emphasize the fact, and we should not allow to be deceived, that this is a war that can be solved by political means. This is a war that needs to be, everybody to know that it's a crash between darkness and light, and it's a crash between truth and lies. And we have to overcome deception because truth cannot be sacrificed. I appreciate you.
Pastor Umar Mulinde is with us, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Trento here with Susie Gold, Jay Mark. 9:33 in the morning on the East Coast, 4:33 in Israel. Pastor Mulinde, thank you very much for your just an opening comment. We're going to get into the details and your support for Israel, what Israel did for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, send this link right now. Call your friends. This is an amazing story, very important story as the world is closing in on Israel. As we speak, we have Jerusalem Jane with us, and we're going to go to a kibbutz right by Gaza in a couple of minutes, get a report from there. So we got a lot of stuff, Susie Gold, on today's show. Pastor, 10 years ago, actually 9 years ago, right about now, when we met with you, and we're playing the video of our interview 9 years ago, so folks can watch that. We'll put it in the description of the video when the show is over. Show's live right now. You mentioned, you said the same thing. Don't give Jerusalem. They'll want Tel Aviv. You give them Tel Aviv. They're going to want the Golan, Washington. What has changed? Has anything changed in 9 years, Pastor Mulinde?
Yeah, what is happening is that there is a challenge that many politicians are not aware of this challenge. Many politicians, including some leadership and leaders in the United States, they are not aware of this challenge. So we need to emphasize and mobilize our people to come to this understanding. For instance, by the time I spoke those words, there was no member of Congress in American Congress who could stand and defend the terrorists. But as we speak right now, America has some members of Congress who are not shy or ashamed to speak in defense of terrorists. And that should scare everybody. That should scare everybody. Because by the time Tom asked me those questions, we had the challenge with us. The challenge was that the extremists were mobilizing, but they had not succeeded to get some high-profile politicians in one of the, actually in the greatest country on the planet. But today, they have politicians in Congress who can defend their erroneous crimes. It's unfortunate, and they are mobilizing for many to join. that means that darkness is invading the light, and the people of the light are just trying to keep quiet, thinking that maybe a problem will go away somehow. But one man said, what takes evil to triumph is when good people do nothing.
Nothing.
That's right.
We have to do something.
And I want to make sure that you know who Jerusalem Jane is, because she's someone who took it upon herself to leave the comforts of America to go, because she understands the truth. She recognizes she wanted to stand in solidarity with the people of Israel. And I don't know if you've met Jerusalem Jane, but she's on the show with us. And Jerusalem Jane, I wanted to make sure that you knew the wonderful Pastor Umar Mulinde, who
I met him. I had the chance of briefly being introduced to him when he was in the Christian embassy several years ago, but I know he met a lot of people. But it was just an honor for me to just shake his hand. I remember I had tears in my eyes when I walked in and he was standing there because I knew about his horrific story.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And Pastor, as you were saying, here there are many people who are not so aware of what's going on, and it's so important to hear your message, and Jerusalem James, so important to hear your message that you're right in the midst of what's occurring in Israel.
Well, Susie Gold, we have a Black pastor from Uganda who was a Muslim, who's a Christian. We have a white, very white Denmarkian lady from Denmark in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the center of the world, and the uniqueness is Umar Mulinde and Tom Trento have nothing in common. I'm from New Jersey. I'm an Italian guy from New Jersey, and we are brothers in the Lord, brothers in the fight. And Janie's our sister. We're Christian. You're not a Christian, but you're our sister.
That's right.
We're grafted into your family. I forgot where Mark fits in. Somehow.
And God brought us all together. And actually, Jerusalem Jane, I met you during one of the United West missions, which was in 2019.
19. I think. Yeah.
When we went with Judge Janine.
Yep.
Was that the night? That was 18.
18.
I remember you had a cast on your leg.
Yeah, that's
I broke my ankle. I was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and it was great. You were able to come and meet everyone that came on the trip. And that was also a group of people that God put together, because when we go on the United West trips, we meet people from all around the country, all around the world. There was a group from Australia that was forming. There it is, really individuals they're just people. They're not famous people. They're just people who believe in a cause. They believe in what's right, and they stand up for what's right. And here you are with 1.5 million, I think you said 1.5 million people
this
that
week,
are on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
And it's not the people that carry all the weight within a high official position, but it's the people, it's citizens, it's people who believe in what's right and work hard to ensure that message gets out and stand for what they believe in.
I got a question for Janie. The war is this war is going to end when Israel decides it's going to end, but the Arab street has erupted, and Arab Israelis and Israelis are fighting. What's going on right now with those battles in various parts of the country?
One Israeli were murdered. They have been lynched, they've been stabbed, they've been shot in the streets ever since the Ramadan began. And I want to mention this one man because he was out driving in his car and they were stoning him to death in his car, and a big rock hit him in the head. And his family actually donated all his organs, and his kidneys are going to an Israeli Arab woman. That says all you need to know about the Jewish people. But yeah, it has been the most heinous attacks you cannot even begin. I mean, right now, people are still trying to comprehend. I have been sharing videos of people being lynched. Synagogues, they burned 3 synagogues. They went down to an underground parking garage where people were living upstairs, and they set their cars on fire because they wanted to burn the Jewish people. So they had to run for their life with little babies. The list just goes on and on and on and on. And now I just saw someone was posting on Facebook that the Arab citizen in Lod, it's a report, but I just saw someone said they are out saying now we want the Jews out. This city is going to be us. This is going to be an Arab city. Lod is a mixed city of Jews and Arabs who up until now have relatively been living in peace. But everything started when the Ramadan began and they went crazy in Jerusalem. And like Hamas are saying over and over, this is the battle of Jerusalem. Every time we have terrorist attack, this is the battle for Jerusalem. This is to protect the Al-Aqsa. So that's what they are all saying. That's what they are uniting about. And that's what they're screaming when they are out in the street. We need to protect Jerusalem. We need to protect Jerusalem. So
it's amazing. And there's a call for Arabs worldwide. You sent me a video from where? Where was it?
It was in Fort Lauderdale, and it was yesterday afternoon. And there were a group, it looked like maybe 100, maybe 150 people that were out. And not only did they have Palestinian flags and waving them, but they had swastikas, and they had Hitler was right. There were cars that said, Hitler had it right. And, this is truly about Jew hatred, Christian hatred. This is all about it has nothing to do with land and everything to do with anti-Semitism.
No, the only one who's not speaking about a two-state solution are the Palestinians. It's the rest of the world who is pushing for a two-state solution. The Palestinians want from the river to the sea, Palestine should be free, because according to them, they seize and they conquer and they set their feet here. So now this land belongs to them and they need to liberate it.
Words that they use, words that all of us so significant, and they take those words and in other words, like the words like apartheid, it's an apartheid state, and it's like that's what is promoted is these words of hatred, and then they that's what they post everywhere, and they in rallies, free Palestine, another phrase that they use when it's the most free country in the Middle East.
Pastor Mulinde, I was texting you thinking it was Adele, telling her to come on. I just got a message from her. This is live. Tom Trento, 9:44 in the morning in Florida, 4:44 in Israel. Adele Ramir, who's in Narim, down in the south on the Gaza border, said rockets are coming out of the north now. Somebody needs to check that out. That means Lebanon or Syria. So Janie, Susie, if you could check that. Mark, you had a comment. So we're live. We're checking a report from an Israeli in her bomb shelter right next to Gaza about rock. And she has, oh my God, in caps with an exclamation point. Mark, you had a question for a pastor or for Jane?
Yeah, I have a question for the pastor. But that's bad news. That's Hezbollah, and that's a worst case scenario there, Tom. But anyway, Pastor Mulinde, you were. I need to stress the significance of who you were before you converted. You were a da'i, which means you tried to convert people from Christianity to Islam, and you tried to. I mean, you hated Jews. You hated them with a passion, and then you had that changeover. My question for you is. Two parts of this question. One is, throughout the history, you explained to us that every church in the past has been destroyed by Islam. Every Christian church has been destroyed, the old churches. And second is, what is this claim that Muslims have on Israel and on Jerusalem? What is their justification rationale for that?
Yeah. The justification of its a creation of a story that one day Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, climbed an animal and the animal jumped and ended up in Jerusalem. That as he was in Jerusalem, he saw the heaven, the door to heaven in Jerusalem, where now there is this mosque called Al-Aqsa, So they say that Muhammad took a journey to Jerusalem, and that is how he entered heaven. And that is what makes Jerusalem to be a city close to Islam. But in reality, that can be disputed, because when I was a Muslim, I used to believe it like that. But now you have to think about where Muhammad was coming from. He was a man who stayed in a city called Mecca, and then he stayed in Medina. So they say he jumped from Medina to Jerusalem. What type of animal was that? To jump, one step jump and then end up in Jerusalem. So there are things that people can say, but in the Bible we believe in truth. And what makes it more disputed is that in the Quran, Jerusalem is not mentioned many times. It's not mentioned many times. They were referring to such a place like, but in peace, as we say, that they are referring to something, but not straight like a city, Jerusalem. Yet in the Bible, Jerusalem is mentioned many times and is regarded as a seat of the King David. So we find that Jerusalem is more Jewish than Islamic. But this is what is happening. In a teaching of Islam, there is a kind of teaching that is called the taqiyya. When you are spreading Islam, you can use taqiyya. Taqiyya means you can deceive for the sake of Islam in order to entice people to embrace Islam. So what is happening right now, the Muslim propagandists are using taqiyya to spread Islam, especially in the Western world. Because if they really think that Jerusalem is a holy city, and they think that Jerusalem is a holy city, and they have to preserve it, my question is, why are they shooting rockets there? Why are they shooting rockets there? Can they shoot some rockets to Mecca as well and Medina? Because there's a dispute, then they shoot rockets to Mecca and Medina.
Never mind.
So the fact that they are not ashamed to destroy Jerusalem with weapons is one of the signs that
missiles would not have been fired without Hezbollah's say-so.
Pastor, hang on one second.
Responsibility to go into Lebanon and deal with this problem from the air.
Colonel, as we're speaking about what's happening up north, sirens are still sounding in the southern communities.
This is live from northern Israel right now. Rockets from Lebanon.
Campaign on Hamas targets would continue. We're also hearing a big barrage of rockets is happening as we speak right now. Talk to us your assessment of Israel's ability to handle both what's happening in the north and the south as we speak.
This is very bad.
I don't believe there's any question that Israel has the ability to deal with both at the same time, and also, if necessary, if anybody is able to launch missiles from Syria into Israel, they would be able to deal with that as well. I don't think there's any doubt about their capability of doing so. I do think one thing that's very important is that Israel be allowed, and not pressured otherwise, but be allowed to deal with this threat, particularly the threat from Gaza at the moment. And what that means is Israel needs to do as much damage as it decides it has to the Hamas infrastructure to prevent further rounds of fighting. And only Israel can judge that. The US can't judge it, the EU can't judge it, no one else can judge it, only Israel can. And Israel should be given the freedom to defend itself, not just from this current battery of attacks, but also from future attacks.
We're hearing right now as we speak that President Joe Biden has spoken to Benjamin Netanyahu once again, and his assessment of the situation is that there will be fewer rocket attacks on this day. Clearly that call happened before the latest development up north. And as I said earlier, the sirens are still sounding right now. You made allusion to the fact Israel is facing criticism from some people in the international arena, but is adamant it will keep defending its citizens. What message would you expect to hear out of Benjamin Netanyahu right now, given what's happening both in the south and the north at the same time?
Well, I think we'd expect the same message as Benjamin Netanyahu has delivered consistently, which is that Israel will continue to defend and protect itself from attacks from outside its borders, as well as attacks, of course, from inside its borders. And I've no doubt that he will continue to do so, whatever the pressure comes from the US or from anywhere else. And so much of the international criticism has been absolutely false. And what it does, when people wrongly criticize Israel for killing innocent civilians, which Israel does all it can to avoid, when people wrongly criticize Israel for that, what they're doing, maybe unwittingly, they're encouraging Hamas to keep going and then to do it again, because it achieves Hamas's objective, which is not just to kill Israeli civilians, but also to try and encourage Israel to kill their own civilians, with a view to then vilifying and isolating Israel internationally, which works time and again. Every time Israel has to defend itself in this way, Israel is the one that gets condemned in the United Nations, by the International Criminal Court, by governments in some cases around the world. So, yeah, I think, we know that, Israel knows that, and Israel, I'm absolutely confident Israel will continue to defend itself with its utmost capability.
Colonel, is it important to that exact point for Israel to share its intelligence and explain its various moves?
No, the answer is no. Somebody fed her a question, isn't it? And I understand to calm down the Joe Bidens of the world, share their intelligence. The last person you want to share intelligence
that's
with
right.
is Joe Biden. Tom Trento, 9:53 in the morning in Florida, 4:53 in Israel. We have an amazing show today. As always, folks, we're bringing you real live action. Susie Gold's back with us. Jay Mark's here. No Monte Cristo today. He's taking a test in school. Gave him a day off. We have our special guest, Pastor Umar Mulinde. We're going to get back to him in a bit. December 24th, Christmas Eve, he was getting ready as a convert from Islam to Christianity, pastored a huge church. He was like the Billy Graham of Uganda, and he was preparing church for Christmas the next day. He's getting in his car. He hears someone call him. He turns and they throw acid in his face. And that resulted in a trip out of Uganda to India to treat the severe burns, burnt the whole side of his face, lost his eye, the whole deal. Is why he wears sunglasses. He's not sitting in Florida. And India couldn't handle him. Because of his staunch support for Israel, Israel reached out, brought him in, and he spent a day or two in Israel, 2 years in the hospital in Israel being repaired. Dozens of surgeries. We're going to hear that story in a bit. We have Jerusalem Jane from Jerusalem reporting. But as I said, we were trying to get our friend Adele from Narim, kibbutz Narim on. She texted me, rockets up north. We went to the live report here. Bad development if Hezbollah, and nothing happens without Hezbollah giving an okay if rockets are coming out of the north. So we're watching that story, but we're going to go right now to kibbutz Narim, where Adele is. I'm not going to give you her last name, but if we can put Mary, if we can put Adele on. Adele's a friend of ours. We've met with her. I've met with her. She does amazing work. And here she is, Adele. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm as well as can be expected under the circumstances. Thank you.
Tell the folks your role. You're one of the leaders there, and you're usually in your safe room. What the heck is going on today in Narim?
It's crazy. And if you lose me, it's because I've run to the safe room, because there's a lot of rockets going on all over the place and even up north. It's just inconceivable. So I live on kibbutz Narim, 2 kilometers from the border with the Gaza Strip, and I talk our lives. I opened a group called life on the border with Gaza, things people may not know but should. I don't know why I made it that long, but I did. And this is a Facebook group, which is the purpose of which is to depict what our lives are like here, not the news that you get on the evening news show, but a depiction of life, what it's like to have to live here and talk to you on the computer, on the Zoom, and know that at any second I might have to run to my safe room.
Now you didn't get there yesterday as a tourist. You've been there a few years. Walk us on your aliyah out of, I believe it was New York.
Yeah.
How long you've been there and what you've seen transpire with life before 2005 in Gaza. And then in 2006, when Hamas gets elected, life after being a border citizen. You walked us on that border, on that fence, and we see the homes just right, not far away, very close. What has it been like, and how many years have you been there?
So I was in a Jewish youth movement, a Zionist youth movement in the States when I was a kid. And at the end of high school, I went on a program that's called Young Judea Year Course, and I came to Israel. So that was 72, 73. And I fell in love with the country. I went back to the States. I was supposed to do theater studies in NYU, but I was in Israel for the auditions. So I was just waiting for the next semester to roll around to go in for the winter semester. And then the Yom Kippur War started in October 73. And I said, well, what am I doing in the States? Israel needs me. And that's when I made Aliyah to kibbutz Keturah, which is in the Arava in the south. And I was drafted into the army because I was 19 and it was just after the war. And in the middle of my army service, I wanted to leave that kibbutz, but because the kibbutz was part of my service, I had to find another kibbutz that the army would approve of for me to continue my service in, to finish out my service in. And that's how I got to Nirim, basically. And I've been here since 1975. And when I came to live here, this was not a war zone. It was peaceful. And we used to get in a car and drive into Gaza and go shopping in their open air market in the Shuk and go to the beach, and Gazans would come over here and work. In fact, a Gazan worked on this house when it was being built in 97. And things started changing in around 2000 when the Hamas started gaining power in the Gaza Strip. And then it just went and got worse. 2006, we started getting our first rockets. And then 2008-9 was the first war that I personally experienced here. Although they're not called war, they're called operations. And for that operation, we did not have safe rooms on our houses at that point. So each family had, these are small houses on kibbutz, each family had to find the safest place in his house, which is an area that has no external walls or windows, which means a little corridor about a wide, yard wide, and just wait for the rocket barrage to be over and hope that nothing fell on the roof, because nothing would have helped us then. So for that operation, I did not stay. I had just lost my husband a month before. He was bipolar and he committed suicide. So I was traumatized and in no emotional state to be able to live in a war zone with no safe place to be. So for that operation, I went to a friend's house in Yafo. And then after that, in 2011, Israel realized that because we are so close to the border and the Hamas were sending over mortar fire, which did not always trigger the red alert, the incoming rocket system, they realized that we needed more protection. So they built a safe room on every house within 4 kilometers of the border. And then once all those houses were finished, they widened it to 7 kilometers, which is where it stands today. Unfortunately, today, the rockets also go further than that into other communities in my region that are not protected with safe rooms. And that's where 2 Thai workers were killed yesterday and many, many injured in a community just outside the 7 kilometers. So hopefully they will be getting protection soon. And now, of course, with this thing, the whole world, the whole country is on the border, because Jerusalem got rockets and Tel Aviv and Herzliya, and it's just, there's no place, very few places in this country that are not getting rockets. Like, oh, sorry.
What was that?
That's artillery fire. Do you hear it?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I'm going to my safe room and I'll hook up from the computer in there.
Okay.
Good idea.
I'll see you soon. On the other.
Okay, get safe, get in there quickly.
This is unbelievable.
What did you see her jump? I jumped,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
I thought something
I
fell,
thought it sounded like a book going.
but she knew what
Yeah.
it was. And that's the post, that's not even post, that's current traumatic stress syndrome. That's very sad.
Look at how the entire country of Israel, they're all disrupted. Like this is truly, there used to be an area, right? Like Israel would be hit maybe in the south, maybe in the Golan. And I remember in recent years, they would say they have artillery, they have the military equipment that they could reach far into Israel. Now they can reach all of
All
Israel.
over.
And you know what? Thank our government for giving money to the PA to the tune of $250 million on April 6th. I believe it was April 6th. And to the Obama administration that gave billions of dollars to Iran. Where does this money go to? To the terrorists.
It's a payoff. It's a bribe. To be nice, don't do stuff, and they go build rockets.
And what are they doing? And did you know that they had a submarine? I had no idea that Hamas had a submarine. Hamas had a submarine. That Israel actually, what they did is this was it was late last night that they bombed a car because the car operated the submarine remotely. So they bombed the car and then they bombed the submarine, and they think that submarine was going to be headed to the Israeli Navy or to the gas the gas reserves. I'm not sure what it's called, but we have a picture of it, but it's because Israel now has
let's take a look at it.
The largest gas reserve.
And then we're going to get, after we do this, we're going to get back to you, Pastor Mulinde. I want to get through your story because we're doing several things.
That, Tom, I do have to say that is a first, having live artillery fire broadcast on our show.
Tom, Adele is back.
We've had live gunfire when we were in Garland. We were live. Artillery fire is a little different. We had live interception of the Iron Dome when we were in Israel.
That's right.
A couple of years ago. But
and
on
that
the
was
show,
coming from the north. That was coming from Syria.
Coming from Syria over.
Yeah. And then we saw the jets.
The F-15s
going. The F-15s within seconds.
Back from her safe room.
Is she back there? Okay, let's go back to Adele for a second. Finish with her, then we'll I want to introduce Adele to Jerusalem Jane and the pastor too. We'll do that in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Adele, how's everything?
Oh, thank God! Thank God.
You're
welcome to my safe room.
your unplanned response to the artillery fire, complete fright, spoke volumes. Absolutely spoke volumes to the viewers and listeners. What went through your mind when you heard that? Give us the sequence.
Noise, jump. I have the TV on all the time, and the TV shows the little pop-ups that shows where there is rocket fire. So I checked the TV, and I knew that if we have a rocket attack now while I'm on, you'll hear it from my phone because I hear a siren on my phone. So I've got all these ways of checking. I've got a few different ways. I would also hear the loudspeaker from outside in my community saying red alert. So I knew that it wasn't a red alert, but it's noisy, it's loud.
Now, from the time the red alert goes off and your warning begins, how long before a mortar shell hits?
0 to 10 seconds I have to get to a safe room.
0 to 10 seconds.
0 to 10.
Yes, which is why I sleep here during these periods of escalation. And the window that you see behind me, you've been in this room, Tom,
Yes, yes.
right? The window that you see behind me is there's an iron glass sleeve that is closed at all times during an escalation, and a very thick window. Unfortunately, it was the same type of window that was penetrated in Sderot, and a little 5-year-old boy was killed.
Tragic.
But that was, I believe that was not rocket fire, it was anti-tank fire.
Something a little more powerful.
That penetrated it.
Now,
So-
how do you stay in touch? I know you have 300 or 400 folks in Nareem. How do you stay in touch with everyone? Is the cell phones, are they working? And what's your
So
communication?
the cell phones are working, and we celebrated the holiday of Shavuot a few days ago, and it's usually on Nareem, it's usually a medley of dance performances, and everybody brings cheesecake and cheesy food. So most of our community are not here. 70% of the people are not here. Anybody with children have left. They've gone to quieter places. Kibbutz Boker is hosting anybody who wants to come. And other families just, went to be with their families or friends elsewhere, away from
Makes sense.
the shooting.
Sure.
So we weren't able to celebrate the way we usually would. So I suggested, let's have a Zoom so everybody can at least, raise a glass. And well, we didn't actually do that, but we actually had a Zoom celebration. I want to say 2 days ago. I'm losing track of time. It was 2 days ago. So people got onto the Zoom from wherever they are in the country. And even before that, the day before, I had people send me pictures of their families to take selfies and write where they were in the country. And I put that together into a movie, and we showed it on the Zoom. And we celebrated together and told each other how much we missed each other. And we're doing what we can to keep the morale up.
Beautiful. Well, here's what we're going to do now. It's 10:09 in the morning in Florida, East Coast time, 7:09 in California, 5:09 in Israel right now.
PM.
And,
PM.
I have, what is it? PM.
PM.
That's right. I have we have several wonderful people on. We have Adele in Kibbutz Nareem, broadcasting from her safe room. Our special guest, Pastor Umar Mulinde.
Who I think actually is off.
I want Umar, if he can come back, to meet Adele. We got Jane on. I want Jane to meet Adele. But first, Adele, you have to meet Susie Gold, who wasn't here for 2 days because she's a Torah observant Jew, and in the U.S. Shavuot is 2 days. She's my co-host. I'm a evangelical Christian, so we got the whole thing covered over here in our office. Say hello
to Adele. It's wonderful to hear from you. And, I want you to know that all around the world, in churches and in synagogues, that there's prayers for Israel. And certainly in my synagogue, as I was there for Shavuos, that, we said special prayers for Israel, as we do every day. We pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We pray for Israel. We pray for the coming of the Mashiach. And God willing, we should see that a resolution to this war that was started by Hamas, by terrorists, and it's a war on Israel, but that we find that at the end of this war, that there would be a calm for a very long period of time. And I know how traumatic it is for everyone in Israel, and know that there is solidarity with the people and citizens of the United States for Israel. And we pray for the peace, and we pray for calm We pray that enough damage is done so that Hamas can be incapacitated and the terrorists could be incapacitated. But this is a long road, and we sit with you. And as you are there in your safe room, we feel what you feel. We feel for everybody.
Mark wants
within
to see
Israel.
the safe room if possible.
Yeah.
That's it.
Huh? You want?
Pastor.
Yeah, Adele, I wonder if we, here we are live, if we could just see the safe room that you're in. I don't know if you can move your computer.
Okay, so that is the door. And that's a special door that is a safe room door that supposedly is shrapnel proof. And that's the window. And hang on. So I have my bed here and a TV.
Wow,
And
that's it.
basically everything I need. I've got an emergency light there. I've got my camera. I've got
Like a bath.
a candle, a battery for the phone, a chair.
It's like a
It's a very small space.
It's a
And-
prison cell with
and-
a TV, you know?
And this on the wall. Can you
Oh.
read it?
No, what does it say?
Life isn't about waiting for the rain to stop, to the storm to stop. It's about learning how to dance in the rain.
Oh, very
Oh.
nice. The Israeli attitude.
Very uplifting.
Well, Adele, we want you to
During
meet.
dire times.
We want you to meet Jerusalem Jane, who's also has a safe room in her apartment in Jerusalem. Jane is a woman from Denmark, came to Israel 7-8 years ago. God led her there as a Christian to support and pray for Jewish people. And I don't know if you guys have ever met. I don't think so, Jane.
I think we've communicated on,
Messenger.
yeah,
Yes.
a long time ago.
Yeah. Good to see you. And I see you when you speak on I-24 and you are telling the whole world what's going on. So thumbs up to you. And I'm telling you, I'm sitting here in Jerusalem and we have had one rockets flying and with the siren. I've been living here for 7 years and I was like really perplexed. I was like, am I hearing right? I ran to Phil on my balcony instead of going to my bomb shelter. And I think about, I'm getting emotional, but I think about you all the time because I can't imagine what you're going through. And when I go to sleep, I can turn off my phone because the red alert is constant, but you're living it. I can't imagine what you're going through. And these are the things that the world don't see and don't hear because for so long they don't care. They don't care about you and the traumatized children and the grandma on the third floor who can't get down, and this is not just now, it's been going on for so long. So I'm hugging you from Jerusalem. I'm hugging you.
Social distancing.
Yeah.
Social
Yeah.
Thank you
Zoom.
so much,
Thank
Jane.
God for Zoom, thank God for Iron Dome. Thank God for these, those ways that we can connect and thank God for the security of the Iron Dome, even though it's 90% effective. Thank God for the lives that were saved as a result of it.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad you guys know each other. And Janie, thank you for your kind words for Adele. And we're in touch with Jane quite a bit. And she constantly is sharing that information. She knows, just an hour away or so when people are living like a
Different
Adele.
world. But that
Why
must,
do you
that
live
must have
there?
been,
Adele,
that
why
must
do
have
you
been-
stay there? I mean, you can live anywhere you want. Why are you living there?
it's my home. It's my home. I've lived here since 75. I had my children who were born here. My parents are buried here. My husband is buried here. This is my home. Why should I leave? Why should I leave? There's rockets in Jerusalem, for goodness sakes, and in Tel Aviv, and there's terror every place, and we have to deal with the terror. We have to solve the problem. In my opinion, this is something that cannot be solved militarily. It has to be solved diplomatically. But it is solvable because I'm old enough to know that it used to be different. And if it used to be different, it could be different again.
Yep, you got to get the Hamas out of there.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this, folks. We got to bring the show to a close.
I'm I'm gonna pop out just for 1 second because I'm with my distance glasses that I left there.
All right,
by
and
the-
I want a closing
Right
thought
back.
from you. So get your glasses.
Great.
And
If Hamas were to say she wants Adele's home for peace, would she give it up?
yeah, well, no, Hamas got, I mean,
Pastor Umar
Hamas
back.
doesn't want just her home.
no,
Hamas wants all
her
of
head,
Israel.
wants her head.
Hamas wants to kill anybody, all the infidels. We're all out into the sea.
Oh, here's Umar's back. Great. We were
Oh,
looking for him.
great.
I'm
Excellent.
sorry the network had cut me off, but I'm back. I'm very sorry.
Okay, no problem. We had Adele. Did you see Adele and Nareem having to jump around a
Yes.
little bit?
Thank you, Adele. Thank you very much.
All right, Pastor Umar Mulinde, walk us through briefly the attack. Adele, do you know of Pastor Umar Mulinde? No, I referenced before what happened to him.
Yeah, no, I heard the reference.
Okay.
I'd never heard of him before, but I heard that amazing story, that horrible story.
He was in Sheba. How long were you in Sheba? How many operations, Pastor?
Yeah, I was in Sheba from January 2012, and I was discharged from Sheba in April 2014. So it
Two
took
and a half
a
years.
number of, yeah, it took a
And that
number
bill,
of,
the bill the Israelis sent you for 2.5 years in their intensive care unit. Have you paid off that bill yet?
it's too much money, but it was paid by Israeli government, and we should appreciate for that. It was paid by Israeli government through Sheba Medical Center in Tel Shomer. And but to walk you through my story, I was born in a Muslim family, a staunch Muslim family. I studied Islam, and I have the theology of Islam, the knowledge of Islam. But by God's grace, I was converted and I became a believer in Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ. But now, when I was a Muslim, I had hated Israel basing on what I had studied in the Quran and Islamic theology. But when I became a Christian, I began to love Israel. That's why even before I got asked the attack, I was leading teams of pastors to go to Israel. And every year I could take teams. We go through, at first we were going through Egypt and come through Tabah and going through that, as we call it, the Exodus route, and until we go up to Tel Aviv. But when there was another government that came in Egypt of somebody who was more extreme, it was very hard for me to go to Egypt because, as you know, my background, when I step in a country where Islam is strong, they want to kill me because I converted from Islam. So I stopped going through Egypt, and we were going direct through. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, we were going direct to Tel Aviv, and so I used to take those teams, and we go through everywhere in Israel. I have been almost in all towns and cities of Israel, and I have Jewish and Arab friends there. But one thing surprised me. From my young age as a Muslim, I was following international news. In school, I was following BBC, I was following CNN, especially from the US. But the things I used to hear from the BBC and CNN were showing as if Israel is hunting for the Arabs, and whenever an Israeli sees an Arab, he kills immediately. So I was thinking that there is that kind of life where in Israel, if you are an Arab or a Muslim, when they find you, the next time you are dead. But I was surprised that when I brought my team full of pastors, many of them, informed with the information like the one I had of that Israel is persecuting the Arabs. So it was surprising for us. We stayed in a hotel in Cairo, and then we had our bus to take us to Taba. When we reached at Taba border, I had hired a company of a Jew. The company belongs to a Jewish man, Saer to us. Somebody called Samuel, and is a Jewish man. Now, this is a company I gave money of a Jewish man, and I expected everybody to work in that company to be Jewish. Then I reached at Taba. Here is our bus. And it was surprising to find that the driver was an Arab, and then the guide was a Jewish man. And then all the pastors asked me the question and said, "Is this an Arab?" I said, "Yes." And then, "Is he working with a Jew?" Said, "Yes." It was a surprise to many who were going to Israel, because basing on what BBC and CNN are showing, it's as if the Jews are looking for Arabs to kill. But now this is a Jewish company hiring Arabs to drive their buses. So when we reached in many hotels where we stayed in Galilee, in Judea, in Nazareth, in all those places, in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, we found that there are many Arabs on the streets, and they are walking and working side by side with Israelis. So it was an opener of many eyes of us, and that's how we went with a reformed mindset, and went back to Uganda, and I began teaching other pastors that, hey, whatever you hear on BBC and CNN is not the reality. You better go to Israel and see things by your natural eyes. It's the only country where a Jew and an Arab can walk on the same street without any problem. So I began bringing many teams to Israel until on the 24th of December 2011, when I was attacked from a church. Extremists shouted, "Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar," and they poured acid on my face. It was terrible. Acid burns more than fire. Acid had succeeded to cut off my neck. I had put on a tie by the time they poured acid on my face. So I got a deep wound from all around here, up here, and this neck was going off. If I tried this, the head could have gone off. I got a deep wound all around here, and you could see whatever is inside. My people tried in Uganda, and it was worse. It was terrible. They couldn't do anything, and they advised me to get a better facility. That's how I was taken to India. And then from India, they said I have 99 chances to die. It was terrible, because whenever the nurses could touch my face to clean me, the skin was peeling off and falling away. My mouth was teared like a skirt and went down like this. The jaws got stuck. I could not, open my mouth. And that's when I got my contacts of some of my Israeli friends. And one of them is the lady you met, Tom. You remember that lady?
Yeah, sure.
You remember that lady?
Absolutely.
The lady who called you when you were... Exactly. So she was my friend, and she is still. And she contacted a number of people in Israel. That's how I was helped to go to Israel, and I was treated in Sheba Hospital in Tereshmel. I have just given you a summary of what I went through, but it was a horrific attack. It was terrible. I just survived by God's grace and by the expertise of Israeli doctors in Tel Aviv, actually in Sheba Hospital. And I appreciate God for Israel, and I appreciate God for people who encourage me, like Tom and others and your team. And many people prayed for me, actually. I could get messages from as far as China. People could call, including people from Arab countries, encouraging me and trying to pray for me. And many people in Israel supported me overwhelmingly. both Christians and Jews, both Messianic and Orthodox Jews, everybody supported me and I was encouraged. And to me, Israel is my second home. And very soon, next year in Jerusalem, we'll be in Jerusalem very soon.
Amen.
Amen.
Adele, we're playing a video behind me.
See,
We had a team in Israel in 2012, January, and we got that call from his friend in Philadelphia, and we brought the team. They said, could you go see if you can interview Pastor Umar Mulinde, which just happened a month earlier. And we went to Sheba, they let us in, 12 of us, and we did the interview you're looking at. It's been seen by millions and millions of people. And it's an unbelievable story. It's been in the news back then quite a bit worldwide. He was known worldwide for the injury, the attack, and his complete dedication to the nation of Israel. He's in an undisclosed location now, as you can imagine, but he is one of the most vociferous and aggressive proponents and advocates for the state of Israel you have ever seen in your life. And we stay in touch with him. He's a dear brother of ours. We'll have him back on, but we got to bring the show to a close, folks. I'd like to get a 1-minute closing statement from, let's start with you, Susie Gold, then we'll go to Jane and Adele, and then the pastor. And then I just have a closing thought on Netanyahu's speech this morning.
Okay.
Susie Gold.
As a closing statement, well, first of all, our guest today, I want to thank you so much for coming on. We really heard about your stories, which are so important for everybody to hear. Thank you, Pastor. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. I know we've spoken many times before, and I wish you all the success in continuing to do the great work that you do. And to Jerusalem, Jane, I want to see your numbers on Facebook increase to 3 million people. The more people that you reach, the more we know are educated properly and accurately on what's going on in Israel. And yesher koach to you on what you've done to leave America and go to Israel. Many people within my community that I know of are making aliyah. They feel that it's time to go to Israel. And God willing, God should give me enough money so that I could make that journey too. And Adele, a pleasure meeting you. And I wish you safety. You are both, you and Jane are in the heart of where things are happening. And I pray for your safety, for your security. I pray that Hamas should be neutralized so that there should be peace in Jerusalem and peace in Israel. So I thank you all for joining us. I hope that you will be our guests in the future so we can continue bringing accurate news to all of our listeners and viewers.
Janie?
Well, when I'm sitting here looking at this group of people, I'm just like in awe how God works in mysterious ways and how each and every one of us are so perfectly and wonderful and fearfully and beautifully made. And we each have a destiny, a great, great destiny, and we each have a voice. Some of us have to go through horrific things like the pastor there. I'm sending all my love and my prayers for you. I've been following you and your story, and I just wish I could. I'm sending a virtual hug for what you have been through, but God is using you so mightily that I hope in some way it can be a comfort, even though what you went through was so horrific. But we each have a role to play. We each have a destiny. We each have a voice. And it's so important that we don't be intimidated by these terrorists, by this evil that's in the world that's trying to silence us in different ways. And Adele is sitting in a bomb shelter and she's not even moving a flinch when you hear the boom, because that has become her reality. It should not be her reality. It should not be my reality that I'm being threatened, but we will not be quiet. We will not be silent. God is on our side. God is blessing us. And I just want to encourage all of you, keep standing, keep shining, and together we will conquer this. We will continue. God bless all of you. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yes, Adele.
so thank you so much for hosting me here. I'm honored to be in the company of all of those here and to have all of those listening. I would just like to close with the line that I always close every group that comes here, every interview I give. Until the other side has something to live for, they're only going to have reasons to die for. and until the Palestinians in Gaza are able to be freed from Hamas and to be able to build homes and institutions of learning and hospitals, then they're going to be desperate, and desperate neighbors are dangerous neighbors. So I'm hoping that we can finish this war in the right way. As we're on here, I'm seeing messages saying that they're talking about ceasefire tomorrow morning, and ceasefire without any agreement, which is not something I like. I'm torn apart by the horrible loss of innocent lives on the other side. But really, we have to come to an agreement so that this does not continue and this does not happen again. Because ceasefire just means ceasefire and they'll stop shooting now until the next time. And that's just not good enough. None of us deserve this. So thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely. From your lips to
Bless you all.
God's ears, as they say. Pastor, your closing thought.
I appreciate Tom. Thank you very much. As usual, thank you, the whole team. I appreciate to be with you today. One thing I want to encourage you, let us not be discouraged. Truth cannot be sacrificed. And always truth wins. Let us share the truth. Every day, a bit by a bit, we shall overcome. Thank you very much, and the Lord bless you. Shalom.
Thank you, Pastor. My closing thought,
Yeah.
come on out.
Come
on out, Cameron. Come on.
I'm not gonna stand.
Go ahead.
No, I just want to say, on the screen in front of you, you'll see the 4 perfect representations of what's going on in the world. And this is about ideology. This is about belief. I mean, Pastor Mulinde, he was a Muslim. He was my arch enemy as far as his radical Islam was concerned. That's what we are all fighting. Now I consider him one of my closest friends. You have Jane, she's conservative. You have Noreen, she's not conservative. You have the whole perfect representation. You have a Jewish ideology here. You have a Christian ideology here. These are the ideologies we want to support, not the hate-filled. And these people in Gaza are trapped by this ideology of Hamas and their dedication to a totalitarian form of Islam. That's what we're fighting, folks. And until that ideology is cut through, until that ideology ends, the people of Gaza are going to be trapped and under terror and threat, not just Israel. That's my closing thought.
Yeah, it's very difficult to fight an ideology in 1.3 billion people. So in the real world, you got to do real world stuff. And my closing thought is very simple. It's to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, that if he takes a look at the Hebrew scriptures and the various leaders over 4,000 years that were doing God's will, leading the nation of Israel. This isn't the first time they've come across an enemy, kind of a history for 4,000 years. The key, and I think the key in this military Operation Guardian of the Walls, it's a war though. The key is for Benjamin Netanyahu to lead the country and his military, his intelligence team to end the war on their terms, not on the EU's terms, not on Joe Biden's terms, certainly not on the Hamas's terms, not on Hezbollah's terms, not on Iran's terms. You end this war on the terms that you believe are best for the Israelis and the Arabs living in Israel. I said the other day, the Iron Dome has saved tens of thousands of Muslim lives in Gaza, because if you didn't have an Iron Dome and 3,500 rockets came over to Israel, Netanyahu would have no choice but to go, as he said in his press conference this morning, I have the choice of bombing the whole country like Churchill did. We're not doing that at this point. We're selective, we're precise, we're trying to protect human life. So that Iron Dome has decreased the amount of Muslims in Gaza that would have died if there wasn't an Iron Dome. Unique irony. So my message is simply to Benjamin Netanyahu, you end this on the terms you believe are best for the citizens of the great state of Israel. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Pat Boone. Pat Boone, the 87-year-old Christian, dear friend of Israel, world-renowned actor, singer, all of that, sharp as a tack. He will be here. You're going to hear a message of his love and support for the nation of Israel and his closeness, friendship with Bibi Netanyahu. Tomorrow, Pat Boone. So we'll see him. He's considered the Christian ambassador to Israel.